team that still has a lot to show us. Bifrost with Diamondprox in the jungle. They're going to be the ones kicking off versus MNM. So this is why I want to focus straight up into MNM to understand a team that is constantly winning in the early game, mid game, but late game something happens and I need your assistance on this, Trouble.
Oh, we're diving straight in.
Diving straight in. I need you to explain it to me. Pepe me.
I told you, it's Pepe.
Me.
Me. Okay, bear with me, guys, because it's a brand new gadget, and I'm going to try to use it to visualize what happened in that last game that MNM played versus Nuriki. So if we look right now on our screens, we see that there is an 8,000 gold difference between the teams. Very importantly, that dragon is coming up very soon as well. For MNM, and they have 3 of these dragons in their hands. So all they literally have to do is take a bunch of vision here onto the map and just fall back towards a dragon, get soul point, and get it done with, because it's also infernal. It's going to be so strong for them. Also, look at the 2 carries. They've got 500 gold, 550 gold, and 650 gold bounties on them. So if you do shut them down, you get a huge influx of gold over on Nuriki, who, by the way, have this thing called Aphelios, which on 3 items is very, very, very deadly. So as I keep playing this clip, also, something else to notice that MNM is also doing very well here is they will shove in the mid lane, they will also shove in the top lane, and also you see that Chimera is trying to shove in that bot lane as well. So very well played right there. They're pushing in all the waves at once. They do not sync them though, which means that MNM are trying to look for a play whilst these waves are not being synced up. So what ends up happening right here is like, wait, we need to shove in this wave because bot lane is coming while mid lane is crashing, but his 2 carries right here are getting jumped on by Banderas onto that Gwen. And when a Gwen gets her hands onto 2 of their carries, I will very shortly show you what happened to these 2 carries. They both go down. Mishigu ends up dying. Chimera ends up dying. Mind you, these were the 2 guys that had the shutdowns on them. So they end up going down, and Kalem without the ultimate could not join this fight, so it was bound to be a 4 versus 5. So they lose a bunch of gold. They take the soul away, which was MNM's win condition. They get a bunch of gold back onto their Aphelios, and Aphelios with 3 items and a pretty good team fighting composition around him kind of shines in this. Are you doing a Pepe?
I was doing the Pepe. But no. By the way, really good job.
Yeah.
Good introduction of this new technology coming in straight from Trouble. But this is exactly what we needed to point out. MNM, they get the lead. They have players that constantly win the laning phase. But when they need to play together, they get just bursted down. They don't play as a team. And they're facing Bifrost. We know Bifrost are really dangerous right now. They only lost versus ADXL. What can we expect from this specific game?
I think, honestly, this could be the kind of the redemption arc for MNM, because Bifrost has been consistently kind of showing that obviously they're a really good team, right? They know how to play the mid game, they know how to play the late game, but their early game has been by far their weakness in both this split, I think, and in their last split as well. Obviously, I'm gonna give it to Fury though. He has been kind of popping off lately. But this could be the chance for MNM to show that I really hope that they have been working on mid game and late game in their scrims this week. And if they can do the same thing again, get an early lead against Bifrost, and then obviously they have to convert it, right, somehow. But they really have to start making things look way cleaner in the mid and later stages, because I feel like they're just getting kind of caught out, and they don't really know how to play around the tempo in the mid-late game, how to set up the objectives properly, as you mentioned. That really is a good illustrator there, without the TP as well. I mean, it just looks rough for MM. They have a lot of things to work on, but I think if there's any team that they can beat that is a top 1, it's Bifrost.
So you think MNM will have a shot to take down Bifrost?
Yes, I think so. I think Bifrost will win. I'm just going to put it out there, but I think MNM has a shot, yes.
I feel like the very strong point for MNM is their mid-jungle top, right? That have played together previously in Absolved, if I'm not wrong. And on the other side, if you look at Bifrost, their strong side is the top side as well. You literally have Shikari, you've got Fury, you've got Diamondprox. And as I'm getting the call from our producers, we're very soon going to drop straight into the picks and bans for this game as well, which is going to be very exciting. I'm looking at things. Am I pressing button for...
Casas. press the button. Let's start the champion select. There you go.
Casters, please.
Casters aside. There you go. Thank you,
Hey,
Trouble,
let's
with the
go.
technology coming in. Bifrost versus MNM. Viego being the first one to be taken out. Are we still looking to these picks?
Yes, question mark. Shikari plays a Min Gwen, Senna, Odi out of the picture already.
Yes.
I'm looking at Diamondprox. Wukong was one of the picks that he loved playing, especially in the previous parts, right? So all of these are still very relevant in the game. I'm thinking maybe here you prioritize something like the Wukong for Diamondprox, get him rolling on the map really early.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with things getting nerfed, as you mentioned, the Wukong nerf not being like as big as the other ones, the Gwen obviously gonna hit hard, not gonna be a blind pickable champion. But we've seen in the LEC as well, people are kind of leaning towards that. Actually, I've seen some Lucian, some Draven first picks, some GP first picks, but the Wukong has been really dominant on that B1. So I wouldn't be surprised if Diamondprox just picks it up, right? But we've also seen the Ezreal kind of popping up more, actually blind pickable as well in the LCK. We saw it in the NLC, the LEC as well. And obviously, what do we want to pair up with the Ezreal, the Yuumi? So all of these champions, I really like what's happening right now with the meta because there have been so many OP champions. And when they're getting nerfed, obviously some other OP champs are going to get buffed. And it's still so hard to like kind of pick your poison on the red side to kind of show which OPs that Bifrost has to pick.
I just really love the Yuumi ban here because it also breaks Twitch Yuumi apart, which is something that Odi has played before. He's played the Twitch, and it also breaks Zeri Yuumi apart, which in this part is going to be probably the biggest blind pick that we have. All of the other pictures, so you still have Wukong and Zeri, and I think they have to figure out what they want to prioritize. If they want to prioritize their jungler on a very aggressive early game jungler, which could also be Volibear, right? You can handshake the Volibear with the Wukong, and then you lock in the Zeri right here for Odi, which is your AD carry. But I think Bifrost are sort of showing us here that not maybe, they're actually locking it in. They're prioritizing Diamondprox and his movement on the map on the Wukong. Now, let's see if MNM are actually going to snatch the Zeri away and what support they're going to pair her up with, because she is the strongest, let's say, with a Yuumi later on, but she can also be paired up with aggressive supports.
Yeah, and this is just gonna be, we're gonna see the city start locking right from the Zeri.
Okay.
The Lee Sin as well. Not gonna handshake the Volibear matchup, just gonna say Sof. Obviously, this guy has been playing. He has so many solo key games on Lee Sin, so if there is any guy that's gonna pick it, it's for sure this guy. I have faith.
And probably Taxa.
Yeah, that is a fact. One thing though is MNM. Obviously, with this as well, they're gonna have so much scaling. The Zeri can kind of. It's really hard to play into this in the mid and late game, and maybe that's what Mishigu and MNM needs. Just one really oppressive OP champion to play through in the late game, but. What you're gonna pick into the Zeri? It's mostly Kalista and Tristan, right? Here now,
that would be
Odi
good.
locking in. The Pantheon.
I love the
With
Kalista
Kalista
so much in the early game because Zeri does suffer in the early game versus any matchup.
Don't get your hopes up.
We had it from the LEC as well. So I really love the fact that they're locking in a very early game champion such as the Kalista. I haven't seen Odi play that aggressive in a long time. Like last split, yes, but not so much. I love the fact that it's paired up with Highways, Renata as well. They can play extremely aggressive on that. Renata and Enchanter, see missteps, you grab her back, nothing's happened, right? But I'd love to see how this bottom is going to play out because Kalista obviously is something that needs to snowball in the early game, so then you can slow down Zeri scaling into the later stages.
Yeah, I mean, just for sure, right? And they kind of now puts the ball in the court of MNM. Do they just counter with the support, or did they just pick one mid pick? I mean, it's a flex pick, right? And they can now ban two champions. And the Swain coming in against Wukong, against Kalista as well. This is a really good pickup.
I love the Swain here, actually. I think it creates a lot of space for the Zeri to play around. And usually when you have a very short-range champion such as Kalista, you expect to see a lot of zoning champions. The most prominent one would be Azir, because you put your shoulders forward and Kalista cannot necessarily navigate too easily around those, especially when you have the shove. Swain works the same way. Potentially we could see both Azir and Swain, right? Swain could go top, Swain could go support. We've seen this happen as well. So I'm just expecting to see something here from MNM that will create a little bit more space around the Zeri to play the team fights and potentially stop the Kalista dead in her tracks.
And we've seen Odi playing these early game champions because we know that he relies on the team. Fury is a guy that can play in the late game. Even
He did hover the Akali over there. He did hover the Akali
I was
a little
expecting
bit.
that. Okay, you pick in the Kalista, you allow the rest of the team to play for the late game if you can, because we know that the priority will be to shut down Mishigu before he awakens. What can we expect?
So I'm really liking what MNM are doing right here. They're completely banning away Silas and Ari from Fury, which then pushes him into something like the Akali. But you don't necessarily want to play Akali into the Swain because you will suffer if that Swain is in the mid lane. So maybe push him back onto something like the Veigar, maybe something like an Orianna that we've seen, something a little bit more passive, even like the Victor, which is not my personal favorite on Fury.
Yeah, I just have to say I really like this Rakan ban coming from Bifrost. It would for sure have been like a pickup for MNM. You're super solid with the Lee as well, and they didn't really have that huge engager. Now they're kind of forced to pick the Nautilus, which is good for their comp, right? They need some sort of engage to kind of match with the Lee Sin, with the Swain as well. But into Renata, I swear, whenever I get field support and I play Nautilus against Renata, I'm just having such a sad time. And now the Veigar as well. I kind of like what both teams are doing. They're kind of throwing toss at each other. MNM kind of answering with the Swain into the Kalista. Now Bifrost answering with the Veigar into the Swain. This is just nutty, man.
You come and sit here.
Do I go there? Okay.
Yeah, in the analyst
Give me a
spot.
second. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Continue.
Okay. What's gonna be the last pick for? So Asheron, please tell me.
Yes.
What do you think MNM are gonna be last picking here? Because obviously they have the R5, so they could pick something for a counter pick.
I would say Shikari will be comfortable on the Gnar, even though Aurelia was heavily buffed. He doesn't care about that because we know Shikari to be a player that can split push. So
But could Kalen potentially pick the Aurelia into the Gnar?
I believe he can, but Shikari feels comfortable. So this is a challenge that Shikari just threw into the face of Kalim. So I don't think he's going to take it. I think he's going for the utility for the team because they have to work around the Zeri. So they need to give priority to the bot lane, so they cannot expect a lot of attention to the top side. So it's more about playing something safe for Kalim instead of going for the 1v1.
All right, we're saying safe. There you go, Gangplank, pretty ever-scaling lane. MTES, what do you think of both of these lineups?
Honestly, I'm super surprised to see GP go through that late into the draft, but I kind of like what MNM are going for. I mean, this time around, they don't draft as much priority in the early game as they have been doing in other teams, and maybe this is the time to like scale up. Although when I look at the other side, I have Bifrost. Honestly, I kind of favor MNM's comp, but just looking at the players as well, I think Bifrost is going to kind of take this. They have the Veigar with the ultimate scaling. They have the Gnar as well. Can be a potential threat in the side lane. I'm going to favor Bifrost on this one.
All right, so your prediction is Bifrost on this one. Asher, our new analyst, what do you think?
I'm going straight up for Bifrost because if you have Swain, a completely crazy bird, you put in the cage of Veigar, it's more than enough to lock him in. And Zed, if she wants to go fast, you don't go fast in the cage of a baby. So to me, I would say Bifrost, easy peasy.
All right, so 2-0 for Bifrost, and this is your host right here for this Picks and Bans on the NLC Troubling. And I'm going to throw it away for our first game of Week 4 in the NLC. Namera, initialize, take it away.
All junglers are kings.
If it ganks, it's a noob! Hey, welcome back to the NLC. Yeah. We thought we had to do something funny to kick off the day. And, of course, we got that first game out of the way. Now let's go put these on the ground.
Yeah, that's enough of that. All right, I'm going to find somewhere to put that. I don't stand on it. That would be bad. Indeed, my name is Initialized. That one is Nymera. We are going to head on to the Rift for this first game of Week 4. Things are beginning to heat up here. These games are starting to become more and more important. We're beginning to move away from that period, Al, where teams can kind of say, look, it's the beginning, we're still learning. Now is the time you need to show where you're really made of.
And that's actually a bit of a sore point for the split because durability patch came in. That made things very difficult for teams to prep for this split, to come in, to find themselves a safe berth and say, this is our bedrock, we're going to build off of this. Because that actually got broken up, and these teams have had now had to try and find a new foundation. But you're right, we have had 6 games on the board, 18 games in a regular split. It's a third of the way through. And at this point, you're looking at 1 of 5, 4 and 2. You're starting to see these groups start to clump together on both sides of the table.
Very much
start to.
so.
It's still quite clumpy right
exactly.
now.
You know, like we are officially a third of the way through the split. We have got rid of 6 of the 18 games. They've already been played. Only 12 more to go. And when things like playoffs are on the line, of course, with EU Masters a potential at the end of that, alongside, of course, the prestige of winning the NLC itself. The other end of that scale is, of course, relegations are a thing. Some of those teams in Div 2 are no slouches. If you've not been paying attention, there are some real challenges who are looking to come and make their way up to Division 1 here. And you can't be happy with a 1-5 record on the hands of someone like MNM, who really want to hold on to their spot here. And Bifrost, hell, they were our other EU Masters potentials, as we have got a bit of an invade here at the level
that's what
1
I
from
wanted
MNM.
to have a chat about, because we saw some mid lane wards actually traded on the top side towards that Raptors. A lot of the time, that's something you can do a little later in after your first, second wave. You can try and go poke a ward in there, see if you can track over the jungler, but one way you can do it is just stick your face in there too. So, using the Nautilus level 1 to have that threat, Soft going to immediately take away some camps away from Diamondprox, and of course Diamondprox has been very active early into the game. I know you've got a lot of stats on that, I'll let you talk about them in a bit, but Soft, I think, on paper here, actually doing a pretty decent job of making sure that Diamondprox maybe doesn't have the same resources to play around early.
I don't know whether this has been fully scouted or not. Of course, there'll be some awareness with the fact that wall was placed on Raptors and it hasn't been taken, but if Diamond heads over towards that Raptor pit now, he's going to be down 2 camps, including that red buff.
The thing is, right, because Bifrost bot lane shut on the wave, and Fury already went towards those Raptors, was seen putting their own ward down, and Diamondprox wasn't present, already you know that the wards are either not present or they've been placed somewhere else that you're aware of. Diamondprox sees the Raptors gone, sees the red buff gone. It's quite a sad little monkey.
And Soft is now going to be well and truly up ahead in this early game here. We've still got his full red side quadrant to clear, and that is a big deal when it comes to this early game. As we said, as far as Diamond goes, he's been a very proactive jungler, but it's often come at his own personal cost. He's right down there as the 9th of all junglers in the NLC in terms of the CS per minute. There's a lot of, he's down a lot of XP at 15. He's often down things like the CS at 15, as I kind of mentioned at that point. But what he's up with alongside Bifrost is early dragons, early heralds, 1.5 heralds a game we're looking at, so they're pretty much getting nearly 2 heralds a game. Lots of dragons early, involved in a fair amount of first bloods.
So that sounds like he's giving up individual leads to make sure he's involved in the big plays early. And now, that not that you can't get individual leads by being involved, but it's a risk to it, right? Because it's guaranteed farm as opposed to not quite guaranteed flipping early plays. And I think actually that has transformed the way that Bifrost have played. Last split, we knew that C-Boy was very hit or miss in the early game. It felt like he was walking into enemy junglers a lot and sometimes out-dueling them, but a lot of the time putting his team in a position where they had to fight back in the mid-game. In this game in particular, I really want to put some eyes on the mid-game. We're going to have to see how these team comps interact later on. I think that, as MTS was saying, actually, on the champion select, as they went through the desk, it was very much a case of actually both these teams liking what they're doing. They have a lot of zone control from both sides, lots of ability to kite out a lot of key threats on either side. That means that it comes down to your decision-making in the mid-game, which will really be important. And that's something which actually both of these teams have had some queries about so far this split.
Curious little moment here with the pathing, as we've kind of been noticing. Korsov did get those early stolen away camps. It actually left his own red buff from Krugs up. I think potentially assuming there might have been a little invade, but actually Diamond, all he went and did was throw down a Raptor.
He's coming in for the second invade of that Raptor.
That's exactly
what
it.
This actually means is that if Soft recalls, gets an Iron Spike whip, obviously already got that pickaxe in there. If you go back for that red buff, which is on your own side, while it's going to be a slower respawn for that buff, you do have an extra buff to play around and have that point of power a little later into the game. So let's see what Soft ends up doing, whether actually he'll end up using a recall and then trying to then use this window of power he's kind of saved for himself. Seems like actually he just wants to get the efficient farming in, so that's a little unfortunate. I thought that actually that would have been a really good play.
Yeah, unfortunate.
You know, getting up towards level 6s. Flash is coming on bot side, certainly not leading to anything, but I feel like Soft maybe could have used that point of power a little more efficiently. I guess, thing is that I'm thinking about it as though it was Diamondprox, where maybe he'd go, I don't need the respawn as quickly. That's like individual gold in pocket down, but potentially fighting power up.
Ships passing in the night right now as Soft's heading to the river as Diamond heads in onto Soft's Gromp. So I think we might be looking at a potential gank. You know, Soft is turning around into this Gromp. They'll be finding each other, but Soft has the red buff advantage. He knows he's here. Diamond still has the clone. The Q has landed onto that Warrior Tricks, and here comes Shredder and the rest of MNM. Diamond now heading into the pit, but that is now flash for flash. Ignite down as well, and Soft and Shredder in the cage. That is a dangerous place to be. Odie's coming over as well. First blood onto the Callista. They tried to prevent the invade from working and get punished horribly in trade. Odie looking for that final auto, gets the double, and Bifrost are well and truly on the board. You tried to punish Diamond with some of those camps taken. He'll fight you around the Gromp instead.
It feels so bad for MNM because Soft had done a good job at making sure that Diamondprox was going to have less gold heading into the level 6 mark, into that point where maybe Herald comes onto the table. But then MNM, they bite off a little more than they can chew, and it feels like at this point, this comes down down to a bit of an unfortunate blast cone play. I'm actually not sure if Mishigu being there means that much because Fury on the first roam has Predator, makes the roam even more impactful. The timing is just not right. You're picking a fight when you don't have that mid priority, you don't have that push. A lot of the time that comes around enemy invades, but it does apply to any fights you have anywhere in the jungle. If your solo lanes, which are adjacent to where you're fighting, aren't ready to fight, you are going to be heading into there eventually with a numbers disadvantage.
And even if Camera wanted to sap the wave and follow Fury, he was nowhere near. He was at his inhibitor tower at that time. He was nowhere near that play. And that really does end up becoming very swiftly punished. And it's a very swift early gold lead down to Bifrost. With this Kalista, a big point of early pressure, getting the early goal to get that snowball against the Zeri.
They tried to defenestrate Diamondprox from their jungle. And then after that, they realized they had to skedoodle and they got minced to bolognese. Like they were being played like a man with a plectrum playing guitar. I asked Twitch chat for a load of words so I could use.
Did you get them?
And I've used them all in the same sentence. Now, I realize it's a problem now, because I don't have any other words to use for the rest of the cast.
I now understand what you were going for that, because remember, like, there's a reference here I'm clearly missing, that it dawned on me what was going on. And what you've done is waste your entire list of words you're supposed to slide in subtly through the whole cast in one blatant block.
No, about as subtle as the Kool-Aid guy coming through the wall.
I'm definitely going, oh no, at this point. And you're just going to come, oh yeah, and yell skadoodle one more time.
I like that word. That's a good one.
It's a good word.
Well, might have to see who's skadoodling from this fight, as it seems like we have some members just coalescing into this mid lane. Fury can be backed up by jungle and support. And I have to say, bring it back to a slightly more briefly serious point. Fury was someone I criticized a lot last split, and now I think it's fair criticism. I think that his laning phase had a lot of points of real pain points for me, particularly against X7. And I know it's tempt, but the laning phase was a bit awkward for Fury, who was falling behind a lot of points and not really coming online up until mid to hyper late game, where Bifrost as a whole team started to really threaten their opponents. This time it feels like Fury has been everywhere on the map. He's not here in bot lane this time, so speaking of that.
Doesn't have that flash. The Cannonball coming down as well, throws down the heel. Soft taking a lot of tower shots. He's just going to die. It's a 1-for-1. Utter disaster with all the resources thrown in. There's a Herald taken for Bifrost on the other side at the same time.
So there is a cross map. Now have to see what happens with Odie losing XP, because you've already given him 3 kills. This isn't putting a Kalista down, it's just maybe bring them slightly closer to even. I think you're right, with the resources invested, MNM not as happy with that. And it's not even that mid-game yet, it's only that 9-minute mark, as he was saying that first Herald went down. It's not even the mid-game where MNM have started to maybe slip up on some of their decision-making. That's we're gonna have to go into that mid game.
Gonna need to flash, does indeed do so. Remember, of course, burn the cannon barrage. No real easy way to trade out once that much chunking came out via the Hyperprox and then the Mega Gnar coming through. Diamonds in being obnoxious, but it will be a little bit of a contest. Camera, soft, shredder all around.
Back to the old defenestration station.
Indeed.
Where they tried it before, and once again, they're not
back in through the same window.
Back in through the window.
Broken early. It's like, well, I guess I can come back here. See if I can take the TV this time.
Sure, you sweep up those shards of glass on the ground. It's a dangerous area to be around, and MNM, they can't stop now this bot side of the map from still pushing it. I mean, remember, those resources went into killing Odie, make sure that maybe they could stop Kalista doing what she's doing right now in pushing in.
It's a Herald as well.
That this bot side of the map is so hard for MNM to play around. Mid lane, no priority just yet, and even if there is, remember, there's a Predator on the side of Fury to get there quicker.
So much gold going into Odie's back pocket. He's been such a standout in the league over the last split or so. Of course, Vendor and FGG currently topping a lot of those tables we saw earlier on, but Odie, Highway, been no slouches either. Of course, some of their stats were hurt a little bit after the loss against XL last week, but they still get 4 plates. They've still got 3 minutes so to claim up that last half a plate remaining, and I feel that's probably a relative possibility as it stands. Another 20 seconds until another Drake spawns, and Bifrost might well look for that one. And right now, it's all Bifrost all the way. Early objectives, early pressure, early kills. all things going Bifrost.
Does that go? Hang on, observers, can we just check whether that ward went into that tri-brush? See it teleport back to lane, but I just want to see if Renata got that into that one.
Oh!
Vision toggle. That is
Beautiful.
sick from Highway. That is so sick.
And we're going to
Look
see a
at
bit of a
that.
dive instead. That is
Oh,
a
that is
massive
wonderful.
ultimate. That is so much damage out of Diamond. Kill will be traded back as Highway will flash away 2 for 1. They will take that one and walk away incredibly happy with that.
Oh, Highway gets the Scar reward. That's actually pretty hard to put there. You can see him standing there for a good, like, 10 seconds, be like, yeah, let me just make sure I'm stood at this little tree, click on this one rock. This is what ends up getting that ward into that brush. It means that Diamondprox can head over, knowing there's no pink ward in that bush, sneaks around that vision, gets the dive. Even though it ends up being 1 kill traded back, that's 5 kills on a Callista. That's 5 plates put into it. Seriously sick play from Highway.
This
I
is
love this so much. Shredder
beautiful.
even sees it go down, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't. They just still don't spot Diamond coming over that wall. And what were you saying about Diamond? Loves to get involved early on. They pull off the dive, use the aggro reset from the Callista. This is such a sick dive.
And yes, Diamond dies, but you still get both bot laners. You still get multiple kills onto the Callista. That bot lane tower falls as well. They get the dragon afterwards. You take the 1 kill and trade for that every single time.
And now you are sat with an absolute wrecking ball of a 2v2 to play around.
I mean, that's one way of calling the Callista ult.
It's definitely what it's. I look at now MNM, and who wants to tank that ever? Basically, no one. You've got a Swain that wants to be maybe stood up, and when they get to Rylai's an Imperial Mandate, that will hurt the Callista. But even with that, I feel like the burst damage now is going to be so insane. And Bifrost using that again, the Wrecking Ball combo, going up towards this top side. Don't need a Herald for this one. There's going to be more plates for this AD carry.
Absolutely. I was trying to find a pun for Wreck-It Ralph, and I can't. So here we are, Wreck-It Odie, I guess. There's no real pun there.
You know, normally I'm pretty up there with references to folio on. I'm not today, not in this one, but Odie going to be stopped by that cannon barrage. Kellen being the bad guy in this story, but of course, being a bad guy doesn't mean you have to be a bad guy. That's as good as I've got.
That was not bad, actually. You know what? You did that. That was pretty good. I will give you that. It was significantly better than I managed to come up with on the fly there, which I was disappointed with. But Caleb kind of being left a little bit out to the wolves. Shredder and Soph have turned up. So this would be a 2v3, but Diamond around in the river will make this an even numbers contest.
Ult again. You can see again MNM trying to commit to this bot lane. That's
Sentinels.
a big barrel. That is a
Highway
huge
solo has got the heal. Managed to get away. Don't have to use the Fate's Call. Throw down the hostile takeover. It took me a second to remember the name there, but we'll get the summoner out of Odie alongside the ultimate. Kalem really punishing that.
Now, I believe also, we're going to talk about Kalem. That was a very important play. Still down 30 CS, but actually, in terms of the top laners we have in this league, has had some pretty insane impact for his team.
Yeah, I mean, well, I went grabbed a few numbers, so I was looking around to see like what's going on with MNM, and Kalem is right up there as the #1 kill participation top laner in the whole damn league. 85% is incredibly high for a top laner who's often, who are offered, there we go, left to play alone on side lanes, left to split push.
Lane Island Gaming.
Exactly, and you know, he's very much a focal point of the team when they are getting kills. He's 31% of the team's damage, which is the highest of any top laner, and just a very high number in general. And he's 3rd in terms of overall DPM for top laners at around 517 odd, which is a solid number to be having at the best of times. This guy is critical to when MNM are going on, and when you can see plays like that, you can understand where some of those numbers are coming from.
So, looking at these kind of plays there, with that barrel being so impactful, those barrels are going to be huge in the next fights as well. So we set up a couple of heroes here. Odie, a lot of gold, and Diamondprox helping them get that. We already talked about how Diamondprox allows that for their team. That's been the story of Bifrost in this game. MNM, if they are going to come back through what has typically been a shaky mid-game for them, which is starting now, MNM are probably going to have to rely on a couple of those barrels, dealing out huge amounts of damage there. He's not going to be at their power point up until that probably 2.5 through item point. And Kellen with the Essence Reaver spikes a little earlier in terms of the teamfight damage. If you get a lucky crit, those things really start to pop. That's how I think MNM can start trying to claw themselves back into this game. Actually, you can see that gold lead already. You can see that the amount of plates onto this Callista. Kalen, for me, is who MNM need to really see shine.
Soph really has a thing for KFC, back towards the fried chicken for the 3rd time I've seen this game. And it somehow feels like the only... the bargain bucket, exactly. Is that what I'm going to call the Raptor bit from now on? The bargain bucket. Yes. I am very much there for that. That's probably the most NLC Northern option we could have gone for. There you go. Well, anyway, the only prize that MNM have managed to consistently find this game has been the bargain bucket for Stoffers. Camera takes so much of his HP bar there. Doesn't quite fall, but does take a vast chunk of damage. And now this mid lane is under siege, and there's no teleport for Camera to get back here.
There's a Herald, there's a Dragon coming up in a minute. So Bifrost, they force the mid lane at the back. That's one of the people that MNM really need to start frontlining. They take a mid turret. They're well in time for it to reset towards the Dragon as well. This is a big phase of play for them.
Fate's Call, Cyclone, and a handshake will make a shredder to a dead man indeed. There is nothing anybody from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles could have done better there. Destroy the Nautilus, who had nowhere to go.
Yeah, and, well, maybe they should have been less a fan of KFC and more pizza. That would have been the Teenage Mutant savior. Calum, while all this is happening, has been left alone on the top lane. He's going to take down an objective bounty at 17 minutes. We rarely even see these a lot of the time, but Bifrost, heck, I think it was Fury speaking about it on Twitter. It was, I think someone was saying like, oh no, it's Bifrost late game, what the heck's going on here? And then I believe it was Fury saying, yeah, but at least we have some early game now. This is one of those games where you start thinking, hey, that's pretty okay. You've gotten yourself a big lead, and while it has been hit or miss, they managed to get a huge power play and get themselves up to, again, as we said, that point where MNM need objective bounties, get themselves soul point early into the game. This has been a very dominant early game. Time to see now if they can close it out in this now burgeoning mid game.
Yeah. They're looking at a 22-minute soul point available. They have got all the outer towers. They've got both heralds. They've got a vast gold lead. The top of like 4,000 gold at this point of the game is certainly nothing to sniff at. And you're with a comp that is coming into its own. This is a mid-game comp in a lot of ways. A lot of CC, a lot of power around those objectives, especially when you've got things like the Event Horizon, the Cyclone, the Fates Called, the Hostile Takeover, Meganar. That is not a fun choke point to walk through if you are MNM.
Speaking of MNM, thinking of those choke points, they do have some wards on the top side of the map, and Bifrost, while they had that big power play around that mid lane, they didn't leave that much vision that has survived now, because MNM did a good job of clearing out a lot of those wards. You can see that pink ward being cleared just around that Raptor bush. MNM have the vision advantage, but can they use that to find themselves a winning play against that gold lead?
It's been this red side jungle. There's been a lot of MNM's focus. Got a few control wards in there, though one of those will be cleared out now by Shikari as he walks behind his own red buff. Normally quite a difficult ward to pick up. That's been one of those old school wards which isn't naturally pathed through if you're just heading through the jungle on autopilot, so to speak. But MNM, down a significant amount of gold, down a significant amount of map pressure, but they do scale pretty well. A Gangplank and a Zeri and a Swain. If you can stall this game, if you can try and hold on, maybe you've got some options as the game gets later.
Again, a lot of those options have to come from... They have to come from good vision play, and while they did a great job of establishing that, they haven't managed to defend it. They weren't in position to fight when Bifrost came and clumped up and started to roam around with those sweepers. They've not managed to defend any of it. Now, MNM left at a point where they're getting pushed in on lanes wherever Bifrost choose they want to have priority, mid lane first and foremost. At least they get themselves a objective bounty on that bot side.
Calum did a lot of work early with the barrels, even if it didn't lead to a kill. Fury thinking about popping that Predator, in fact does so, but Diamond's coming behind. Calum's going to have to try and get over that. That is the oranges down. Won't be punished, but it will be the tower still going down, even if Shredder comes up. I don't think there's really much room for him or Mishigu to turn anything around there. Wards cleared out, and Bifrost take that tier 2 and continue to try and stifle out MNM from their own jungle on the opposite side of the map. A red quadrant for a red quadrant. A little bit of vengeance for the early game.
So, speaking of avenging past wrongs, I mean, MNM, one of the things that I would have... Okay, I'm not going to say criticize, because I think this is... I'm not sure it's enough to be a trend even after a third of the split. We had a couple of games where it felt like they had compositional advantages that they could have played around, and they made some bad decisions in mid-game to put themselves in difficult scenarios. I remember actually the last Swain game they played, it felt like they took a bad fight into enemy jungle against a Jinx and a Talir, and it just kind of all fell apart. So in this game, I'm wondering if they really have a chance to, again, showcase any kind of improvement in that area onto the decision-making in mid-game. And looking at it again, where are they going to do that? Baron's alive now, and it feels like Bifrost, they're going to get to a point where they can force MNM's hand and take that decision away from them.
And It's actually pretty difficult, especially with the gold lead discrepancy, and then the fact you've got a Kalista plus a Wukong. Like, that is very hard to out-smite between Rend and your own smite from Diamond as well. Like, Bifrost have got a lot of objective secure alongside a lot of objective control, as we've kind of been highlighting. MNM, they've got to play in a period of the game which has been a bit of a weakness for them. That loss we saw last week where they threw in the mid-game despite an incredible early game, probably still haunting them now. We've got to see massive improvement from a negative position.
Yeah, so MNM
might be a start. Might be a start. That's definitely going to work out. Highway down for the count, but has a stopwatch and a fantastic use of that hostile takeover. Cyclone is there into the Fate's Call, and they'll manage to extricate themselves. Diamond's clone died, but now Odie in trouble on the other side. He went way too deep for that. Now Kemmer on the other side is going to throw out the demonic ascension into the back of the pit. Does go down. It'll be a 2-for-1 right now. Soft hopping forwards. Will miss the Sonic Wave, but that is a massive win now for MNM with the jungler dead as well.
Jungler's dead. Shikari not going to have that ult up for a little bit. Maybe
can take this
some damage, but MNM talked about that mid-game, talked about it starting with vision and making those decisions. Looking well for them so far, but can they capitalize on the
That's going to stop the easy teleport back in. Baron down to 8,000 HP, and Fury has not been able to reset and teleport back in. It'll be the solo laners of Bifrost trying to play this one out best they can. That's Event Horizon. Shredder taken so damn low. Will surely fall. Ultra Shock Laser will not be able to secure Fury. And the Baron now down to 2,000 HP. That is one kill back. Soft, so low. They're going to throw 64. The Baron is taken, but now can they extricate themselves? Mishigu manages to secure Shikari, and MNM managed to find a critical turnaround series of plays and come out with an objective bounty Baron.
Okay, if MNM's homework was to talk about that decision-making, play around the vision which they'd set up, that is a massively passing grade, passing with honors, distinctions, whatever the heck you want to call it at this point. And on the other side, Bifrost gonna have to give you a detention for that one. They're giving us another heart attack in a game, Sam. Bifrost as a team, they always find ways to make it interesting. While last split, even into EU Masters, they were more successful than not. They have themselves another game, but they're keeping things in question.
Odie, they managed to extricate themselves. It looked like they could just disengage, and then Odie hops forward and dies. He was your 6-kill Kalista. And then Camera just sweeps it to the back of the pit and gets another, and from here it's a 2v4.
And you know the smite's down, you know Maganar's down, you know the Veigar ult is down, but through this, we now have a trade. We have MNM with the Baron, we have the Cloud solo from Bifrost, which has been claimed. And this is particularly important for champions like Veigar. Veigar is a champion who's playing with Predator and wants to stop getting those cages down.
So much damage. This is not a nice game for the Nautilus. Big hostile takeover, but Camera is popping off. Demonic Ascension comes straight on through. Thus, quoth the Raven, never move. Beautiful stuff from Camera at the back end of it, and it's a 4-for-1. Shikari is running away, the last remaining member of Bifrost.
Oh my gosh, Bifrost, they think they found a cage, they think they found a one-shot, but they get one target, and MNM snap. On the click of a finger, they turn it around, and Mishigu is at a point of power. We said 2.5 items was about that break point for Zeri when they start popping off, and when that CC was down, Mishigu did a huge amount of work alongside those barrels. Gonna, of course, have a take another look at that. Cage goes down, you think, all right, okay, single pick. But then look at this. Zeri starts popping off, cannon barrage, and a barrel on to 3. It's a Prowler's Claw gangplank, and we talked about Calum having a huge damage percentage and wanting to look at them as a player. MNM find themselves another great fight. And after what was a pretty disastrous early game for this roster, sat at 1-5, this would have been a very hard loss to stomach in that kind of fashion. Signs of life now for the roster.
It's just an inversion of what happened last week, it feels, for MNM. It's a bad early game into a fantastic mid-game turnaround. And honestly, shout out to Camera as well. I believe that was a 3-man never move that held people in place for the barrel chain.
Hang on, speaking of never move, you sounded like you were saying something literally.
I was.
Literature-like in that last fight.
No, gonna get
Mind
away there.
filling me in on the never move thing?
To clarify, there we go, not qualify. There's a little bit of contesting going around this.
Tell me about Swain.
I've got time. That the move never move
right,
is a reference to Edgar Allan's Poe's The Raven, where the raven quoth nevermore. And so I made a really cool reference using that. It's brilliant. I'm a genius. I'm a literary savant as we've got a fight in the mid lane. And we have to see whether it'll be another horror story quoting from that Swain, who's only going to throw out the demonic ascension a little late, of course. At the other side, Highway and Odie trying to trade up best they can, off into the backside. Odie, the kick, gets it! Soft, that was gorgeous. No bailout available. Highway fails to flash into the KFC bargain bucket. Soft, though, into the cage. Not going to be taken out. Big hook, big, never move. The Raven speaks again. Edgar Allan Poe had it down well right into Omen. And now Mishigu. Mishigu trying to push it. It's a decent chunk back into the cave. Trying to run away. Does still have a spark surge. Caleb walking forwards. Barrels onto Fury. But a primordial burst will secure the AD carry and trade. Shikari now trying to run away. Will turn into a mini Gnar. Crunch away is not going to be quite enough as Soft hops forward. Misses the Sonic Wave though. And maybe Shikari can start playing this one out there into the base and they need to try and escape.
Okay, so now, with 2 people left alive, Shikari living there could be pivotal. Means that there is a potential base defense. MNM not able to crack those inhibitor turrets. And MNM, where has this squad been for this split? Where has it been? Because this is the kind of decisive engage, understanding what cooldowns they can play around, which I have sorely missed from this squad. Mishigu doesn't get hit by another cage, doesn't end up getting hit by the big Renata all coming through, and it's the other AD carries, the Fed, Callista, that gets shut down early into the fight. The kick into gaping more of MNM, so huge in this play, and that literature reference once again striking true to pick up another kill at the end of the fight.
And all honesty, I thought MNM were done in this game. This Baron now into the consistent team fights. Zeri, Gangplank, and of course the Swain very much online, and Soft feeling himself in somebody's late place if they had to extricate themselves from the base. Afterwards, it's a 2,000 gold lead to MNM. Baron spawning in 30 seconds or so. And we need to see a turnaround from Bifrost, or MNM may well have this.
So, what that gold lead means, though, and a lot of the time it doesn't mean that much, is it means a lot of item completions to come in. That Fed Callista actually almost on parity with the Zeri now, and you know what? 3 items Zeri with the QSS on top of it. I take that over the Callista at this point. We've seen how easy it's been for Mishigu to play once that cage has been down. MNM, at this point, I think you have to even favor them, and of course the momentum meter has swung vastly in their favor from the analysts in the back room giving their own opinion. Bifrost, this is where they were really dealt those harsh blows right in this mid lane, but MNM will have to find themselves 1 or 2 good fights to end out this game themselves.
Shikari just hit Mega Gnar, which means it's not likely going to be available for either the Baron or the Elder Dragon, which is spawning nice and early in this game. 15 seconds to go. Bifrost trying to find a space where they can fight. Shredder flashes, misses. Big summoner down camera, stepping forwards. Will not be trapped by the event horizon. As Visions of Empire continuing to fly around.
You can see how MNM trying to muscle the way into the river. So, what are we looking for in this fight? Again, it's cage cooldown. This is the really big one. Maybe a good Renata ult can keep things interesting, but with a QSS on the table, it's going to be so hard for Bifrost to shut down the carries they need to. Look for Bifrost to try and shut down isolated targets. Roll it from there.
Elder Dragon down to 7,000 HP, going down even further. That's Event Horizon. Massive amount of damage onto Highway, who's out of the fight. We're going to begin, but now Shredder's dead. Camera to the backside, though. He's got a demonic ascension running. On the other side, though, everyone else from Bifrost still just about alive. Shikari to the backside doing what he can, but it's now dead. Vega secured by a burst fire from Mishigu, and it will be a wipe for MNM. Surely it is. Shikari trying to run away over the wall. He hops, but he's once again the one remaining member, and MNM will head to the Baron pit.
And with a hop, a skip, and a spark of inspiration, Mishigu might die, but they secure that Elder, and that is a heroic moment for MNM. Bifrost magic in the late game was so close to happening. You can see what happens in this fight. Soft not able to get onto that backline. Fury doing a lot of work at this point. Level 16, several items hit. It's not enough at the end of it, but seriously, the turn onto that Elder gets so damn close. Bifrost very, very unfortunate to lose out on that, but gosh, what a fight that was.
3-man Mega Gnar into the wall at the back end of the fight, but Camera was zoning off one half. Diamond was on the Elder and had no Cyclone available. It looked good until we realized there was nothing left in the tank from Bifrost. As Highway handshake Shredder away, does not want that particular business deal.
Highway to the not in danger zone.
Yes, to the not in danger zone, exactly.
That's all I got for that one. Taking that as you got. Fury continuing to stack up. Actually has that blighting jewel, that a magic pen on the Veigar, huge at this point. If you can get to the point where actually Camera takes one combo, goes into one cage and dies, that is incredibly important for Bifrost. However, they might have to have their hands forced in this case. The MNM heading over towards that Baron. They don't have the highest Baron damage right now, and Bifrost are here in time for a contest.
Just be careful, remember there's still the Elder Dragon running the Ultra Shock laser, goes wide, Event Horizon is going to zone people off. Dragon to Baron, sorry, down to about half HP. Diamond still looking for a flank angle, has it. The Event Horizon down one more time. Pulled into the cage. Fury's got a Sonic Wave on him, it will not be taken. Big use of that hostile takeover. Another Event Horizon. That'll be the Wukong gone. The Smite is dead. Remember, there's still the Elder Dragon on these people. Only trying to hop away. He's got a bailout, but nothing left to work. Does get soft. That means the Smite is dead, but the ban advantage is still there for MNM. It's a 2-for-1 trade, all things said and done.
And you know what? For all things we said about the durability patch, it's meant more often than not, we've gotten to these late game scenarios. In this game, it was an active early game, and Bifrost sitting there in tied second place, I believe. You've got JDXL right at the top at 6-0, Bifrost with a whole clump 4-2. This is actually an important game for them to keep pace. Can they start splitting the map? They sent 2 towards that bot lane, even with the Smite dead. They choose not to contest that Baron. Use the solo laners to get some map pressure.
Kari finishes up what he was doing during that initial Baron contest just before this. That is the inhibitor down, but they will lose the Baron to Bifrost. At least they managed to find something resembling a trade. They will have all their members alive, and the waves, not that preferable for MNM outside of in the mid lane, where Renata is doing her best to trim it.
Well, all of this is being said, we talked about the Bifrost perspective, set of 1 and 5 MNM. It's not too late for them to start climbing back into relevancy. It's only a third of a split, maybe it's a bit harsh to say that, but at 1 and 5, you are behind everyone but Singularity sat at 0 and 6 this game for them. I'm not going to say it's going to change everything, because that, again, would be a little bit too dramatic even for me, and I love my, my own bit of drama, but MNM, this team who are, again, currently sat in a relegation's berth. If it were to continue, would love this victory to change their narrative even just slightly. Q onto Highway, not going to lead to anything more from Soft, but MNM, well, they had those beautiful team fights back-to-back. They've really found the clean fights to end out this game that we asked for them after that point, and it's gotten to the point where it is getting very, very close.
So close. Elder Dragon's worn off, but Baron is still on. Bifrost seeding another tower here, aware they're not going to have the easiest time contesting it. All the while, though, still got a little while to work with the Baron buff. They've got a minute and a half until another Elder Dragon spawns, and that last one was a damn close flip.
So, with that being said, remember what MNM did to start off this comeback. It was vision traps, it was playing around the vision control that they had and using that to find those first picks. Currently, MNM push into that bot side jungle, they have themselves vision, but it's still a minute and a half till that Elder spawn. Can they defend it after that point? Presumably they might want one last reset. Diamondprox
gets hit by the Never move, but is able to Warrior Trickster his way out of danger there, as Highway a little earlier took an Ultra Shock laser to the face, and the Ultra part of that laser is definitely very true right now. Flash hook! Renata is gone! Deleted, eviscerated, removed from the rift. Member down, Bifrost now have to defend with that Renata and her ultimate unavailable for them.
Victory goes to the bold.
Wait! Oh my God! Shikari! The Cyclone afterwards secures the kill back, but all the while, Soft secures the Veigar. Odie hopping mad though, trying to put as many spears into the hearts of camera and crew. It's a shooting gallery, and the Swain is dead.
MNM try to be bold. They try to end the game on the Baron push.
It's not done.
Elder be
It's not done. Shikari hopping forward. Mishigu trying to trade out. He's rendered down. It's a horse factory. He's glue. Soft on 5% HP. Must run from Shikari. A Mega Knight to the wall. And an ace for Bifrost. The last stand comes true.
How did Bifrost keep doing
don't
this.
believe
They
it.
found themselves into another game. It was all but done. They throw it, they claim it back. It's a Bifrost heart attack once again.
MNM need to see an exorcist. Their late game juju has been stolen by Bifrost. There's no other explanation for how they do it.
Elder secured. Let's just take a moment to breathe.
Speechless.
I think you could probably allow us a little bit of excitement after that, because MNM, you could see the timer on the Elder, and my opinion was push in, keep that vision, reset, set up around that objective. MNM, you know, honestly, credit to them in some way. I appreciate the boldness they had, because it was bold to say, let's end this off of this one play. Get the flash hook, get that first kill. Kalista ult be damned, they get that Renata out of the way, and if it weren't for the heroics from Shikari, from the rest of the crew, that would have been it. It would have been put to bed. Last word written onto that paper. And now, after that, they've been sadly punished for that boldness. They still have those items at parity, because everyone is late game now. They're gonna have another swing at this, but this time it's gonna be MNM without that Elder buff, without that ability to have that overbearing combat advantage. So Bifrost, they find themselves in what has been a bit of a home for them so far, that late game, which they should or shouldn't be in with everything on the paper written down, but we're looking like it is coming towards this one last attempt.
Oh, Fate's call. Remember, there's an Elder Dragon on. They're going in. Highway is there. Does not pop the ultimate. It's still a potential fight. Calum taking a lot of damage. Remember, there's still that burst, that damage from the Elder Dragon, that burn, that execution that could bring them all down. Highway takes an ultra laser and a cannon barrage that chunks him down to half. Fate's call
How much
is
can
down.
these barrels do? How much can these barrels and these visions of the Empire is doing, MNM?
They can. The tower now under siege. Massive use of that hostile takeover.
Calum!
Get into it! Calum's gone! 31% of the damage share, and he's dead. 2 rights. It'll be a pirate burial, a 21-gun salute best they can. But with the Mamba down, they're trying to clear out the waves. They're trying to hold on with that disadvantage. The numbers discrepancy may hurt them. They're down to one necessary stop. Flank. The event horizon down as well. What can they do to hold on? Highway down so low. They've still got the Elder Dragon for a little bit longer. Demonic Ascension is up. Shikari hops away. The event horizon brings Soft down. Screams at HP. He kicks, but he can't secure the kill. He's executed down to the GA, but he's now capped into the cage, and there ain't no way out. Massive shot back with the Mega. Nah, Shredder is shredded. Oni gets a double. Kemera alone remains, and the Swain is plucked and pulled from the skies. Demonic Dissension, straight to hell you go. Do not pass go. Bifrost, do it again. The late game magic is unstoppable.
We had words about this, Bifrost. We have chatted about this, because that is not good for my health. It's not good for the audience's health. But you know what? It's pretty good to get our heartbeat up and raised, as this is only game 1 today. First game on the entire title card fight. That was ridiculous. I would say a little bit unnecessary. I think Bifrost at this point, you know, had that great early game, couldn't quite transition it through into that mid game. Fantastic late game as always, but there are questions there, because MNM, they did not look like a 1-5 team in this game. Make no mistake.
No. It was an incredible recovery, but once again, heartbreak for MNM. Bifrost have a great early game. They throw in the mid, and they pull off the kind of magic that seemingly only they can. But speaking of magic, we'll throw to Archeron and the crew to give us some more.
Thank you so much, Initialize, and we have a lot to unwrap on this game. The first one of the day. And if all of them are like this, ooh, it's going to be a spicy one, but MNM versus Bifrost.
Okay, tune me
Let's
back in, because
yeah.
Bifrost are the team fighting team that comes online after 25 minutes, and we're like 12-10, 12-11, easy hyper carries, the game to the late. They pick the Kalista, they're tower diving. Like, Bifrost is tower diving. By 11 minutes, your Kalista is 5-1. You're dominating every single fight. And then chaos. MNM, who's supposed to be winning early on in all of their games and throwing it in the mid to late. Don't get me wrong, they still throw. Don't worry about that. But the roles were completely reversed.
Yeah.
I love one thing that you were in the green room like, oh, maybe this is what MNM needs. They need to lose the early games and win the late. And it was happening.
Yeah, I mean, legit. This was, as you mentioned, like a complete game of opposites. Like Bifrost usually kind of struggling the early lane. They were diving, as you mentioned, on this patch where the tower. Maybe it's because of the patch. Maybe the tower is gonna be a little bit nerfed, you know. But they were popping completely off, man. But then once the mid game came, I felt like MNM's comp. You were talking about it so much, Georgia, in the draft that they were just drafting so many tools to zone off the Kalista, and even though the Kalista was super fed, I mean, this guy was miles ahead of Mishigu. It didn't matter in these team fights. MNM was kind of pick up the pace, but I mean, it looked once again. I'm so devastated for MNM, man. I'm super sad.
I think the players will be very sad as well. But
Yeah.
like, if we can roll, I have two particular clips that I want to show, and it is exactly where actually MNM turn things around in the game. That is the mid lane fight that they play so freaking well. Shredder was always tanking the front line and eating that Veigar ultimate, and of course Barrels, Gangplank ult. The Swain has not left Zeri's side at all. He was zoning. Kalista could not walk forward. Even if you managed by some miracle to get past the Gangplank ultimate and the Barrels as Kalista, you cannot walk past that Swain. He's got Rylai's on him. He's going to slow you down. Champions that slow Kalista down is pretty much a death towards Kalista. And as you can see here, Zeri is doing pretty darn well into this late game. I think Mishigu is really shining onto the champion. It matters a lot, the vibe together with the Samira. Samira's a little bit more of an early game champion, but the vibe is still the same. You have a lot of mobility, you move around, you're making your own place.
Then we need to talk about that moment. Okay, let's approach the
Oh no, there's no moment. There's no moment.
What happened?
Let's roll the next clip.
Okay.
Because if that didn't satisfy you and convince you that MNM is a really damn good team fighting team, I'll let this clip talk for you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this clip, I mean, I was going to mention that Bifrost looks so scattered in this fight. I mean, you see here, they're getting, I mean, obviously Shikari being on a flank, super good on the no-right, but look here, Shikari jumps in, gets a 3-man ulti, but Odie is hitting the Elder Drake.
Oh, what's that?
And it seems like a split call from maybe from the shot caller on the side of Bifrost, but I swear if Odios goes in that fight, I think there's no way for MNM to actually pick up the dub in that one, but they just, I mean, it's a super back and forth, but MNM actually secures the Elder as well with Mishigu. What is going on, man?
Look at that. You get the Elder Dragon, you have it on 2 of your members, you've got the momentum, you're already winning the fights. Doesn't that look pretty convincing that MNM wins this game, guys? Yeah. It does not! Because my producer was like, okay, you have these clips in of MNM winning every fight, but you might want to change the clips that you And I'm like, surely they don't lose. Well, they do. And I feel like they're going to be beating themselves up for this one, because this is the 3rd game in a row that it goes to late game. They have a pretty good composition, and they just lose it in the details. Bifrost, yet again, their team fight prowess just comes on top.
There's a lot to talk about Bifrost, and this is exactly why we're going to jump into the interview with the jungler, the king, the legend, Diamondprox again in the show. Hello, Diamond.
Hello, guys.
Pleasure to have you back in the show. Okay, this was a roller coaster to begin with. Like the way you started going for the Grump, knowing that you had the control of the mid lane, Fury would go to you. Like it seemed so good for you. Kalista getting completely in control of the bot lane. Can you run me by that one? Like, what was the plan for the early game for Bifrost?
I think the early game plan was very simple. Just stomp them because we were stronger. And apart from not expecting enemies to invade and do some crazy plays, we succeeded into that. We got a huge lead early game, but then we maybe didn't, we didn't transition it too good into the late game.
Diamondprox, I want to ask you a question in particular because we say here, like, especially last split, Bifrost, if they go past 25 minutes, their team fight is stellar. The early game, a little bit slow, trying to get Audi towards these 3 items, you know, with the Fellows, Jinx, whatever the last split was. Right now, you guys, 12-11 hit, you're tower diving. This is like, you bring the new flair into Bifrost, Audi onto the Kalista. You tower diving bot lane over and over again. Talk to us a little bit about your early game sort of plan that you went to the game with.
I mean, I just like to take every possibility I can to take advantage from the game. And if opponents are not drafting well enough, like if they create a pressure point on their lane, I will try to abuse it, try to use it as much as possible. And for now it works. Let's see how it goes later. I think were maybe a little bit struggling in some of the later stages of the game, but early game feels like we're kind of on the same page on what we're doing, and I will just look to improve it further.
One final question for you, Diamond, before I let you go. It was going smooth. Everything was going smooth, but there were two team fights where MNM completely took control over the game. The Elder Dragon as well. I would love to talk about that, but we can't. I just want to understand from your point of view, when things were going south before you turned it around on your own base, how were you feeling?
It felt awful to throw the game like this. It always feels awful when you actually play a damn good early game and then you have a huge lead and you just don't have to hurry up, but then you make one mistake and the whole game turns around, and then it suddenly turns out that team fighting is actually hard against their composition. It's months. I think for them, they just basically need to point and click their spells on all our champions and they will win. For us, it's much harder. We need to find opportunities. We need to kite back. We need to understand like who can catch from them and stop them from doing that. So it felt a bit scary maybe throwing the game against such a comp. And on the Elder Drake, there was a miscommunication, I guess. I lied to Wodya. I said that I still have... I mean, I didn't say that I still have Smite, but I called the Elder because I thought I still have Smite, and we would do it very fast, but I actually just used it on the listen, so I kind of lied to my AD carry, and that's why it turned out so bad, and we looked like a clowns. But I'm glad that we eventually found our way to win the team fights and how to play them correctly and win the game from that.
In the end of the day, Bifrost and Diamondprox, you guys are at the top of the standings. They're really close to JDXL, so let's see what happens when you guys face each other again. Let's see what happens as you guys go moving forward. And it happens, man. Sometimes we smite, we forget about that. It happens, Diamond.
Because we lie to our AD carry. It's fine.
Yeah, we always lie to the AD carry. Ooh, those guys, man, those guys are annoying. Thank you so much for the interview, Diamond. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. See ya.
Thank you.
You mustn't lie to your AD carry.
Sometimes it happens. You think.
Have to.
I mean, I'm playing Painting support, so I lie a lot. Like, oh, I'll let you get the kill.
To be fair,
Yoink.
if your AD carry is a Kalista and she can start stacking Rand onto the Elder Dragon, you also have kind of like the win condition there where you're like, I have no smite, but maybe you can 50-50 the smite with the jungler, right?
The fact that you're all saying that it's okay to lie to your AD carry shows why I have trust issues. Thank you, guys.
It shows why you went from a pro player to an analyst.
I love it. Obviously, it was really scary for Bifrost. They're still in the lead in terms of standings, really close to JDXL. Bifrost still kicking in strong. Let's see what happens at the end of the fourth week. But now into the MNM side. Obviously, a team that struggled in the beginning, got the Zeri, got it rolling in. Zeri was completely protected. I don't know if we can jump into the interview right now. Yes, we can. It is Mishigu with us. Mishigu, my boy. This was a tough game. Okay, early game for you kind of sucked. What happened?
I can barely hear what you're saying for some reason.
You cannot hear me? I'll speak louder. Mishigu! Are you there?
What the fuck?
Oh, there you go. Hello, Mishigu. Let's continue to try and test it. Can you hear me now?
Barely, man. I don't know.
Okay, can you hear me maybe, Mishigu? Hello?
No, I don't think... Okay, thank you so much.
Turned up to 200% and it's like...
Thank you so much, Mishigu. Sometimes it happens. I really wanted to talk with him about this. Yeah, because they had the lead, they had the Zeri protected. You said something along the lines of they have to kill Shredder. They have to use everything on the Nautilus because Zeri was so protected. It seemed like a can of tuna and nobody could open it. I love tuna, by the way.
Right. So Mishigu was the can of tuna.
Oh, he was the tuna.
He was the tuna.
Yeah.
And the can was the Swain with the ultimate around.
Oh, Mishigu is with us. I don't know if you're there, Mishigu.
No tuna.
You got
Tuna, you there?
It works now. Yeah, great. Hello.
Hello, I got you back. Okay, Mishigu. We were talking about this game, so let's make the
tell
interview.
him about the tuna,
Yeah,
I
so
beg you.
this game to me was mostly about your team was a can of tuna and you were the tuna. You were completely protected. Golden tuna, in my opinion. What happened?
Well, I mean, we did some mistakes in early that made the game really hard, right? But then we managed to come back and it should have been pretty easy from there on out. But then there's like the one last fight where we didn't we didn't respect the Mega Gnar. And then Wukong is a broken champion, right? And he can 1v1 me when I'm full build, and he's 2 items with a Champagne Chainsword. So,
tell me something. Okay, first time it happened. Second time it's unlucky. Third time, I mean, you guys are getting all the leads.
I don't know what to tell you.
Are you cursed?
It's really scuffed. It feels really shit, but I mean, it's not like we're that sad about the overall performance, but like losing games like this over and over, like it's not the most fun thing, right?
Yeah.
Mishigu, we got used to you playing a lot of the Ziggs as well in the previous season, and now we saw your Samira was extremely aggressive, and we're like, okay, Mishigu has 2 modes. He either chills on the Ziggs or goes at it with the Samira. And now we see your Zarya as well, which is also an extremely mobile champion that you can make a lot of things happen, like the Samira. So short range, long range. Is that the type of champions that you like to play, that you have so much mobility and you can play around teamfights much easier? Or do you prefer the more like Aphelios Jinx meta?
I mean, I liked Aphelios Jinx meta a lot, but I felt like it's been going on for too long. So it's like, for me, I can play a champ for like 1.5, 2 years, but then I kind of want to swap off it. And of course, I really like mages in bot lane. Right now, they're not the best, sadly. But I started playing a lot of the Samira and like more aggressive stuff, and I think it's really fun, and I started enjoying that playstyle. But then now that's not the best either, right? So I don't know, it's a bit scuffed, but I mean, my role is pretty fun at least. So at least I'm not playing support.
To wrap it up, Mishigu, I love it. At least I'm not playing support. To wrap it up, looking into these games, let's be honest, there's a clear window for MNM to pick up some games. It seems like you're better than Astralis was in the previous split. Like, Astralis were trying to get in, but you guys got it. You guys got it. There's only one step away. Do you still feel comfortable that you will go into playoffs with this composition?
Yeah, of course, man. It will be fine. It's only been going up from here. So at the end of the split, we will win every game, right?
That's my tuna. That's my tuna. Thank you so much, Mishigu. I'll see you soon. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. So.
Yeah, always a pleasure talking to you, man. Have a good one.
There you go. We got him. At least he's confident. At least he's smiling.
I mean, you have to be. You're challenging the strongest teams in the league.
Yeah.
You just challenged Bifrost in their own game. You challenged them in team fighting. I think, if anything, yes, it freaking sucks, man, to lose the games last minute every time. But at least this is one thing that they need to focus on. Everything else is going great. The fact that they can turn around a huge goal deficit isn't their advantage. The fact that they can take the early game leads. The fact that they can transition their mid game vision and channel the waves all at the same time. These are really good signs of a good team in the making.
M-Test, my question to you is, how can a player keep that mentality going on strong when he's constantly getting close to the W, but he always get the L? I mean, you lost a lot of times. I mean, a lot of times.
Are you tapping into his experience?
Yeah, so give me from experience, how can you survive that?
I think it's just typical Swedish monk mental. We are like mountain monks up there. We're just praying every day and getting that. I mean, actually, as an AD carry, you kind of have to have good mentality, not gonna lie, because sometimes your support just has... He has decided he didn't want to plug in his keyboard that day and doesn't want to play. Obviously not the case in MNM's case, but I think for Mishigu, he has been in this kind of case before, kind of similar to me actually. Well, I think he's like way better than what his stats are looking like, or like what the team stats are looking like. And I think down deep, he knows that. And I think that's what's kind of driving him. And you kind of have to, even when no one is believing in you, I mean, I'm still an MNM believer, but when no one is and you're just looking at the stats, you kind of have to, it has to come from within, a strong Viking heart. So that's what Mishigu
In order to have someone believe you got to believe in yourself first. I always say that. With this in mind, let's look into the next game, because this is a team that is struggling to get any sort of victories. And if you can look into it, we'll have the bottom team, Team Singularity versus JDXL at the top. And Bifrost are just looking in the shadow of JDXL. They need JDXL to slip one time and then get that 1v1 back in the split.
Yeah, and I think this could actually be one of the cases where you know when you have a new team, you're kind of on the honeymoon phase, you're all kind of playing well together, you're having fun, and then you can actually create one of those kind of budget honeymoon phases by swapping a player out. And I'm just gonna let you know that obviously Persson coming in today instead of Jeppe, I don't think Jeppe was the problem for Singularity at all. I think they have a lot of issues, right? But just swapping out one player can change a lot in terms of atmosphere, and they can come in with a completely new mindset. So I think Singularity, I mean, it could be their day.
Before we